replace front or replace?
Front steps and then the porch, just front windows and
I have more drawings for the porch.
And you have your site plan?
I have a site plan.
Awesome.
The door is pretty basic. It's a 2-light Douglas fir door.
Public hearing?
No, no public hearing tonight.
No public hearing.
Tonight is,
Oh,
That's on the
So-
25th.
25th.
Do you guys have any questions about it?
can I do you work
So
an
the
image
picket
of the?
goes around that front porch thing?
Let's just do the door.
Can you mind reminding me?
What do you need?
Do a picture of the front facade?
Yeah.
Remember it. Thanks. Oh yeah, that's right.
Are you gonna have a storm door or screen door in it?
Yeah, similar to the one I have now, though, so it's just a replacement.
Or is it in the photo going to do that?
It's metal there now, right?
Yep.
Okay, so it'll just basically be a full glass.
Yep. I mean, it's a big improvement. The other one's fiberglass, like,
Yeah, it's
I think it's
nice.
late 90s Home Depot
Mhm.
stock item. So this is just a nice wooden door.
Have you thought about doing a wooden screen door, storm door?
I haven't.
It's wonderful to see that door go away. You've loved this house so well. I'm fine with the door. Do you have hardware that you've selected for the door?
No, it'll be similar hardware. It might be the same hardware. What did I write there? Did I write? Nothing. So it'll probably be the same hardware. Just new wooden door.
About the front steps and porch.
We could talk about that now, or do you guys want to vote on everything or separately? How do you guys want to do this?
Well, let's see, because we haven't done a secret vote on this yet, have we?
Nope, we were just getting started when you came in.
So, you know, let's see what you're doing, then we can do the secret vote. A secret vote, secret.
So the porch is, here's the top view of the porch. Right, so what I know is I'm getting water in my front door, it's just because this is poorly designed. So I gotta replace it soon. And I have these 2 doors here that now are functioning. They weren't functioning when I moved in, so I can open these, but right now it just goes onto the grass, or it goes onto this bush. So I want to just connect this to these doors basically, very minimally. So the drawing would look like that,
With no roof.
with no roof.
Okay, so it's just a patio essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but it's level with the top level of the stoop.
Yeah, this is exactly the same size as it is. It will be the same size as it is now, which is 51 inches by about 50 inches.
I'm sorry, level with the stoop?
Yes.
And what's it made out of?
It'll be made out of wood.
How about the existing porch?
The sides of it?
This existing porch here
Yeah.
will be removed.
Okay, it'll be made out of wood, but what are the sides of it made out of?
It'll be wood
Wood
railings.
railing, wood baluster, and then
But
wood deck.
But between the floor level of that patio and the ground level, what happens there?
We'll probably put the village approved lattice, which would probably be the
So it would be
square.
open lattice?
Yes, at the very bottom. So skunks don't go in there. I have a problem with skunks in my yard.
Everybody.
Everyone,
Okay.
we all do.
My dog's got sprayed
They're
twice.
all
now.
wondering. It's a scourge.
I've never gotten
in the
sprayed, that's
village.
why I smelled it.
Skunk deck. Well, this makes me think of the front of the, it's not the Shortell house anymore, but what was the Shortell house had long doors like this and did at one time have a low porch like that. It didn't go across the entire facade, but short. And also if I think about on your street, Sandlands,
Mhm.
right? Have the Gothic with the
Yeah, those
doors
long
that open
windows.
onto a
Mhm.
low porch, which is lovely.
Mhm.
And you're not modifying any other part. Was there evidence that there was a porch there before? A porch, covering?
There's not, oh, there is evidence, there's a paint line.
There's a paint.
If there was a covering?
Yeah, I imagine, but I have this step out, which makes it problematic.
Right, from when
Yeah.
it's
It
might
modified
even
after the
look-
porch.
It might look weird if it
Yeah.
is. So that's the.
It would end up being super deep, so.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't want to lose that entryway real estate either.
No, I don't, yeah, it's built into the house.
Mm-hmm.
How high is your guardrail?
What is it, 36 inches?
To here?
Yeah,
Or here?
or to the top, to the top of the deck, which is code.
And also, but you need handrails on the side of the stairs?
Yeah, they'll be there, but that's similar to this, yeah, there'll be a handrail there.
So it could just continues the baluster
Yes.
design?
Are the handrails, the iron thing that's there right now, or?
No, I'm getting rid of all the iron, it'll be wood.
Okay.
It'll be all wood. There's the iron fence in front of the house, but that'll stay.
What are you doing with the gutter?
The gutter is gonna be built in because it is used. It'll probably
So-
be a
so
hole
just go
in
into the ground.
the platform.
What was the problem? You're getting water in your front door?
Yeah, it's rotting out the
No.
collar tie actually right underneath the door.
Oh, I see, because it's not draining off.
Yeah, it's going into the house.
Probably has been for a long time.
Yeah, I think 25 years, yeah.
Even with the storm door there?
Even with the storm door. I think that it was originally bricked, the steps, and I think in the late 90s when that door was added,
Covered
the
it.
stones were added,
Mm.
and they did a bad job.
And they didn't put any flashing in or something like that?
Nothing,
Mhm.
no. they
Like
didn't.
my front porch is like my terrace of my gosh.
I guess that, let me toss this out to the board. I think that there's a lot of information that we still need, it needs to be sort of updated. Do we feel we have enough information to take a vote?
I don't see we have enough drawing or pictures.
Drawing over there.
And there's also in the packet,
Yeah, but it doesn't show the skirting around the bottom, it doesn't show what the railing is at the stairs, it doesn't show what the,
It will match this, the railing, the stairs.
on this drawing that you.
Yeah, but we
Sorry.
have to give something to the building department to let them know exactly what you're doing.
I understand.
And this kind of doesn't make it.
But we can also write it in words to them so they can understand what's happening.
How do you feel about that, Al?
Well,
You're the one who's gotta send this to the building department.
I'm just doing a basic handrail, I'm not doing anything weird here.
okay, I guess how are we doing with the agenda? Do we have time for me to mark up? Because we're also going to need 3 copies of the drawings that you have.
Okay.
So, what do you mean, how are we doing with the agenda?
We're
Well,
on number 1, we've just started.
Well, you've got the wrong agenda.
Okay.
You've got the October 25th agenda, that's the problem.
I need that.
So we've got solar panels for 15 High, and then the boulevard is coming in.
Mhm.
95 Main Street is the building right next door that needs some help with thinking through.
I guess,
Can we find a way? What else do we?
well, I'd like to see the drawings with all the information on it.
So do we have? Can we take a few minutes and mark them up?
I guess we
We just have to wait another month.
I think this is a little sketchy. I'd like to see something that's a little more finished. I mean, this is kind of, it's sort of incomplete to me.
What would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see how the stair rail comes down. I'd like to see actually specified how the lattice works there.
The other thing, for example, how's the deck, the new wood deck supported? Is it on brick piers? Is it on posts?
It'll be on cement pillars. Either can be bricked around as a facade.
Cement pillars meaning what?
Sonotube, it's concrete.
Concrete block? or-
No, concrete.
Oh,
The
poured
poured.
With a post on top.
Okay.
But they'd be behind
If
your
you're
lattice.
talking about, brick, I mean, you really have to specify that, I mean, because obviously there would be brick down here, what the spacing of it is.
Well, we have our workshop coming up on,
It's a voting session on the 25th.
yeah, so could we revisit this conversation on the 25th? So we can move it along?
We could do the secret finding today.
And then we could.
We could certainly vote on the door and the
Right.
fence.
Right now,
Is
yeah.
there anything you can vote on for this? Is there anything that I can work on this that can be decided later? Such
Could-
as like
could we
the
vote on-
covering of the structure of the foundation of the porch?
Okay.
'Cause the lattice is
Let's-
like-
Let's take one.
There's only one lattice that's acceptable by the village, I thought, so it's not like
Well,
a real
it's not,
question.
well, that's not exactly true, but you're not gonna put up this fence without putting up the underlying, structure.
That's correct.
Okay, I mean, so you have to specify what goes underlying it first, I mean, it's, it goes from the bottom up.
Right, but that's not necessarily what's gonna be seen. What's gonna be seen is this,
Well,
and then
no,
the lattice will
if
cover
you're,
everything else.
if you're talking about sonotubes that are then wrapped in brick, okay, that is visible,
Right.
okay?
So the next owner
Is-
might
is-
tear off the thing.
Right.
I think
Does-
the theory is that the next owner might tear.
All right, does the lattice go in front of everything? Does it go from pier to pier?
It goes from pier to pier.
Okay, well,
Okay,
stuff.
and what's the trim around the lattice? I mean, things like this are normally specified, and here we've got nothing.
Okay. But that's all something that can be decided later, because that's not the main structure.
We could do the secret finding today.
I don't know what that means. What is the secret finding?
We have to do an environmental review finding, whether this requires further environmental review or whether it's exempt.
Okay.
Whether it's a type 1, which requires further environmental review, or type 2, which is exempt, or if it's unclassified because it's something that's just different. But we can do the secret finding today, we can do the door today.
And
Yeah.
You can get the door installed.
can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
I have a when I first saw this, I thought that you were putting in decorative balusters. This is not
Yeah.
accurate. Okay, so setting that aside, is there anything about your fence that you feel we can look at tonight?
Oh, yeah, you have everything.
Because we could do door and we could talk about door
Well-
and fence tonight, right?
Okay.
No, we can't, because with the fence, all we have is just the panel. In other words, we
No,
don't.
he hasn't given us everything yet.
Yeah,
He's
I
got a
know,
site
but
plan.
this shows a picket fence
Yeah.
like this, with normal pickets. This does not show the same
That's-
thing.
that's-
It's-
This is
That's
the,
not the
this
same
is the,
thing.
porch.
this is for
That's
the
the
porch,
porch,
this is
that's
for the
not the
fence.
fence.
We're gonna talk about 3 things tonight
Okay, so where does this fence go?
on the north and south side of the property.
He brought a site plan, just let him get it, let him take stuff out.
Here's the site plan. Here's what the fence is now.
Did we,
I sent him.
did we look at a fence already? That you?
Yeah, we workshopped
We
the
did a
fence.
site
Oh,
We did
review
a
and
long
then we
workshop just on the
workshop.
fence, and then this is just the
Yeah.
vote for it, basically.
Okay, see, for example, so it's just on the sides.
Yes.
And also, what's the spacing of the pickets? Or not the pickets, the posts.
The posts are 4x4 posts, they're right there.
I know, but how often,
They're every 8 feet.
and are the pickets between the posts?
The-
Or,
The pickets are between the posts,
As
yes.
opposed to being hung from them.
Yes.
And what's the height? Is the height specified?
It's 4 feet, same as it is now.
.4 feet, you're going to need a variance.
No,
from
he's
the
not.
village.
Not 4 feet.
Is the max?
4 feet's the max.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Positive. I just put it-
There's no hardware for this.
yeah, because there's no gate, just solid,
That's
solid
right,
posts.
Because remember in the front, he's got iron, right? This is the rogue dog, right? Keeping the rogue dog.
Exactly.
Oh, you did have selected a cap. I don't see anything terribly controversial about this post, this fence proposal. We've had folks come in before and show us the panels, the posts, the caps, and where it's going.
It's almost exactly what Kathy across the street from me put in like a few days ago. Mine's just a little taller.
Can you check the village code?
Yes, you can. I'll look it up while you're.
Because I don't think it's 4 feet.
I think it is, Carol.
Okay, well, Kathleen's looking at it. Do I have a motion as far as the secret status?
I move that it's type 2 because it's minor modifications on a single family home.
Do I have a second?
That's good for you. That means no further.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 And if he needed, this has been referred to us, if he needed a referral for the variance for the fence, it would have been referred out to zoning as well, and it was not.
I know it's
4 feet also.
We've read
I'm
this
just
1,000
looking.
times.
I know.
We talked about it on a lot of last
It's
meetings.
4 feet.
too.
Unless it's a lumber yard. That's the only time when there's an exception. And we don't have
And
any
it's not a
lumber
lumber
yards.
yard, and we have not had applications for a lumber yard, 'cause we don't have one.
Okay. I think as far as the porch, that I just have a problem with. There are a lot of issues that need to be drawn. And so I think that and also I need 3 copies of stuff.
What exactly do you want to see on the drawings for the porch?
Railings.
Yeah, an elevation of what you would see.
Supporting structures, so like the pilings.
Well,
No specification of wood, or what the decking is made of, etc.
So I sent you an email with a list of all of these things, if you
I did
go
go
through
over
that
it,
email.
yeah.
Well, actually, no, so let me read out what was requested, just so we're clear that we've had this conversation, or portion of this conversation. Okay. Site plan showing the installation and locations of the fence, along with images of the existing fence in those locations. We'll need to see any posts you've intended to install, as well as post caps, gates, and gate hardware that you brought in. We'll also need a drawing of the proposed porch sufficient to understand how it relates to the facade, how it is fashioned, as well as material specifications and dimensions. So, and when I spoke with you on Monday, you said you were bringing those things in.
Yeah, to my knowledge, this is it.
So there aren't
you're missing-
material specifications and there aren't dimensions. We don't see how it relates to the structure. So those are all the things.
Well,
we
what
need.
specifically do you need now?
So
What specifically though? Let's go over the list of what you need.
where's your drawing that you sent? So you gave us a drawing, right?
Let's go off of these drawings right here. We have this one, and this one, and this one.
Go ahead, Al.
All right. Obviously, because you need handrails, so that, the drawing is not complete. What is the construction of the stairs?
Okay, it's wood construction.
Okay. And so,
Are the stairs open, or are they enclosed?
is there a riser?
They're closed.
Okay, so for example, it would be nice to sort of see a section, so at least we can we can say this is wood, this is wood. And we're talking about, regular wood or treated wood.
The porch will be treated, but it'll be painted, so.
All right.
Except for the decking, which will be cedar.
How about the treads of the stairs?
Be painted.
Painted. Okay, so is
Painted
the cedar
wood.
going to be painted?
Cedar will not be painted.
All right, so this is going to be natural wood, but the stairs are going to be painted.
That's correct.
Is there any reason why we can't get at least cedar treads?
No, we can get cedar treads.
All right. So then, looking at Obviously, you're gonna have these cement piers clad in brick.
Yes.
Okay. Spacing. What is how is the lattice installed between the piers?
And framed out.
Okay.
How's it attaching back to the structure? How's the decking attaching to, is it attaching to the structure, and if so, how? To the house? Or is it sitting?
It's just a ledger board.
Okay. The other thing needs some dimensions, sort of overall height. These are 1 inch, 2 by 2 pickets,
Yes.
4 inches on center, right?
Yes.
Okay. How about the post?
4x4s.
4 by 4. Okay. Because the post looks a lot larger than that. How about, is there going to be a cap to the post?
Yes, it'll be a similar cap to that.
The same as that. Okay, so how about the spacing of the posts?
It'll match the spacing between the pickets.
Okay.
Yeah, but how wide is the total porch?
Total porch is about 24 feet.
Okay, so you're going to have a post every how many feet?
Post every how many feet?
Yeah.
It'll
Because
probably
you'll have
be
one-
12
you'll-
feet. It'll probably be 6 feet and then 12 feet. I'm willing to work on some aspects of this.
Yeah.
Do you guys want it symmetrical, or what are you looking for?
Well, it should be an even spacing, because obviously you've got this here, so you're going to have a post here, you're going to have a post here.
And then you've got the 2 windows. Okay, so, I mean, like, you're gonna have a post at the stairway, you're gonna have a post at the corner. Is there gonna be a post in the middle, or, because you've got the 2 windows? Because obviously, if you have a post that's like right straight with a window, and then you've got another one that's not, it's gonna look
Right.
weird.
What's the width of this?
Just 50 inches. 50, 50.
Okay, 50. So, and that's pretty close to 4, so if this is this 24?
Yes.
So 5 feet from 24, and then, you've got the window behind it, not the windows, actually doors.
These 2
Yeah,
doors
that's
stay
right. I mean,
right here,
that's-
right here, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's just it. In other words, what does this rail look like in front of, your elevation, your front elevation?
Okay.
I mean, you can take a photograph and draw on top of the photograph, but as long as we have an idea of what it is that you're
I see. All right, you just wanted to look at this. All right.
Okay.
And I know we've asked on other projects, on the sides, we asked on 56 Paulding, and we asked on the building on Orchard Street, the sides of the stairs going up, is that going to be lattice, or is it going to be a solid panel, or what?
Okay.
This is a lower side, I mean, a lower stair too, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be like a 1 foot by 2 foot triangle, but it'll be lattice. Okay, I'm good with that. I'll get all the information to you.
All right, so we can vote on the door. So do I have a motion to approve the replacement of the front door?
My only question is, are you keeping that storm door, or are you putting a new storm door on?
I'm replacing the storm door, the same type.
The same, okay.
I would move to accept the door as submitted.
I will second.
Second.
Okay.
She seconded, she seconded before I seconded.
Okay. All right. Let's vote on the front door. Sean?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved. Front door's approved.
And the fencing north and south, on the north and south sides?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. We have on other occasions, approved with a packet like this, where the fence is selected, the panel is selected, the post is selected, and the cap is selected.
Well,
And there's
you know,
nothing controversial about what he's proposing for the panels.
I did workshop with it, with you
Yes.
guys. I spent a
Yes, I
a
remember.
long time with you guys, going over the fences, what would work, what wouldn't
I
work,
remember.
what I wanted, and I did compromise a lot on this.
Okay. Well, we need the site plan.
We just gave it to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, do we declare seeker on, did
The
we
whole-
declare? Oh, we did, we did. Sorry,
Oh,
sorry,
the
sorry,
whole-
sorry.
oh, shoot.
Lost in Quagmire's notes.
Okay. Does anybody want any more information on this? Or,
I think the only thing that you can, I don't know if you want to note it on that or note it on the spec sheet, is just that it'll be 8-foot sections.
8 foot?
That's what you said.
That's
they're gonna-
correct.
Between the
8-foot
posts.
sections.
That's pretty typical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it's standard.
Six. They
Six
do
to
it.
8. I'm fine with that.
So,
And then the panels will be between the posts, not in front of the posts.
And they're, you said 4-inch square posts, right?
That's correct.
And he's selected a
have
cap.
any idea what the length is?
The length of the post?
No, the length of the
Pencil.
The length of
Pencil.
that is
Pencil.
36 feet.
36.
No, it's 86 feet, I'm sorry.
Just sitting and thinking about that for a moment. What happens where the, how are you joining near the iron fence? The iron fence takes a turn, right?
The iron fence does not take a turn. The iron fence is approximately 3 by 3 inch iron
Uh-huh.
post. The good post to the right.
Go right next to it. I was thinking it came back a little bit. And there's a, is there, I'm not stating, I'm asking a question. A portion toward the rear, that could have been what we talked about last time, that closes off your backyard?
That's correct.
And
There's
is
a-
that's staying as it is now?
It's staying as it is now.
I'm sorry that I don't remember exactly what we talked about it in that workshop, it was a while ago.
We did, yes. And I'm not changing anything but the side fence.
So there's a portion that closes off.
Well, I remember that, and I'm just trying to think, I thought I had processed a C of A for that fence. For the fencing.
Not for this portion.
Because it was all about your dog, right?
Yeah.
It's something to keep your dog in.
That's right.
So, all right, we can check on
We only workshopped it. I don't know what we would have done.
that.
I don't think we
If it was,
voted on it.
all right, if it was just a workshop, then maybe that's what I'm recalling.
It was a while ago. And that is already a wooden fence.
That is a wooden
Yeah.
fence.
If it gives you any solace, the village is digitizing files, and so at some point, we'll be able to pull up your last application right in front of you.
Oh, that's
at some
good. I thought
point,
it all was
relatively.
on files.
It is all in, oh, well, no,
I know.
that's out being digitized.
Right.
Dragging, kicking and screaming into the century, being dragged.
Okay, so for the fence, let me just show everybody. Okay, so we have the site plan. We've got, it shows 2 areas of fencing. Note says new wood fence, picket panel number 401 per attached cut. See other cut for post and cap. Post at 8 foot on center.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the application as modified?
For the fence, so moved.
For the fence only.
So moved.
I second it.
Okay.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay. So,
Sorry,
Kathleen.
2 copies of.
I second.
Okay,
Motion.
so
I second it.
we
5-0.
next have a voting session on the 25th of October.
Okay.
We'll put you on under old business.
Okay.
Okay, that and also we're removing this because it doesn't.
That's where we moved that, yeah.
For the purposes of the best use of Ken's time, is there opposition to the design of the porch, or do we just need more information?
I would like to see what it is how it's gonna look when we approve it.
But in concept, we feel comfortable moving in this direction.
I don't have any objection to it.
I do. Yep.
You done?
You have
feel
a
No, I
comfortable?
do. I feel.
She's so confident.
Sorry, not trying to
No, that's good.
wrench into the works.
I think it brings sense again to have something for those to receive
Doors to open up
folks
to-
moving
I
out.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you.
See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, see you soon.
If you have any questions, you know where to find
Okay.
me. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye. Let me before so we don't forget.
Here we go.
Where's the fence cut sheet?
Papers.
And that's the post.
The fence
The
cut sheet
fence
is in the.
is already here.
Do we have 3 of them?
Yes.
We have 6 of them. Hi.
Solar panels are up next,
Can we invite them to the stage?
I think, right?
Yeah, 15
Yeah,
minutes.
just come on up.
Okay. Hello. Hi. Jessica.
Hi.
Oh, I have solar.
Oh, cool.
So, here. The solar installation for street, I brought some extra image as well. This is the picture of I brought from Church Street.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Let me know if you want to talk about it, or if you just want to ask questions.
Let me distribute the materials.
It's Ann. She's
Oh,
right there.
I thought it was the house next door to you, and I was wondering, oh, you're a supportive neighbor, but no, this is your house. I know that.
think that's
Pete.
all of them.
It is. Oh, wow. A lot of information.
Oh.
Yep.
All right.
It's the heavy paper.
Mhm.
And then you're coming off the grid, right, Ann? Totally
Oh,
out.
pretty soon.
We're all moving in.
Chocolate out the utility pole.
That's right. Actually, that would be so fantastic. If all the poles and wires went away in the village.
Right.
There are
Some
some
people,
people-
there are some
fantastic.
people seriously on board with that. Yeah.
Just not the utility.
Um, Let's start with secret. Do I have a proposed secret status?
I move that it is a type 2 classification, residential property, minor modification and reversible.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Put that out. Is the solar array going to be flush with the roof?
It is with the lower part of the roof, the low pitch.
So
roof.
it's
The
this,
flat roof.
Yes.
this part.
The
Yeah.
flatter roof.
Yeah. It's 3 rows of 6
You're
modules,
talking about-
just all right on here.
Oh, it's on the lower part.
Yeah, only on this low part. Yeah. The racking and the frame of the modules they're black. They'll sit about 6 inches.
So they're here, right?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't even see
Yeah. I'm just trying to
because
make
they'll
notice.
be
Okay.
resting on top of that flatter part.
On this,
Well, it's kind of typical.
Confuse me, I'm seeing this.
Well, but the 6-inch height is about typical
Right,
of what
right,
we've seen
right,
on
right.
other solar installations.
Yeah.
I think the only question we'll really have about this is where the
meter.
the
Sort of
meter and
south
all that
side.
jazz comes down.
South
Right.
facade.
So,
The inverter.
it would come down the side.
The opposite side of this.
Yeah, I think I have a picture where the meter's on the other side of the house.
See?
So the
So
north
this is-
side.
This is facing the
Oh,
street,
toward
this
the-
is facing the entry.
That's a good thing.
Sorry.
okay, but is that where you're going to put the inverter? Yes.
Uh,
The inverter right there.
Yes, yeah. on the other side.
How,
So
how are
what's-
you going to get from the solar array to that?
So, picture of this side, the inverter. Oh well, so it's gotta go like over, can go like up this part and then
I'm sorry, I
down.
can't see what you're pointing to. Because the paper's folded.
Oh, sorry, yeah, let me see if I can find it. It's hard to see the folder.
Well, actually, if you just lay down the folder, the papers that are in your hand, I'll be able to see what you're pointing to.
Yeah, I still, it's not very helpful. So so you see how there's this
Mm-hmm.
on this side? Well, there's that on the other side. So you go up.
So the
there.
up the valley.
Yeah, up the valley
Yeah.
down,
Okay.
the other side of the roof and down the side.
So do we have any images of that other side?
No. I don't have that. So, I mean, the side, the other side, it's got a meter on the side of the house. So it'll be, the inverter will be next to the meter. So it'll come and it'll follow like that. It would follow like it would be the other side of the house, but it would come down where the meter is, and that's where the balance of system is,
And
right
is,
there.
is the meter tucked?
Sorry.
Is the meter along in the middle of the facade, or does it run along? Because this looks like you're coming to the corner, or near the corner.
Yeah, it's near the corner.
And is there a gutter or something there that you can tuck
Yeah, we
behind?
would follow the gutter line, whatever's there, if there is a gutter line.
That's the way we've been
Yeah.
managing these.
Yeah.
Right, well, if there is a gutter.
If there is a gutter.
And you have a leader coming down.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think there's a leader coming down on that corner. You're talking about the front corner where the
Yeah,
meter
where the meter is.
is.
Yeah.
On the northeast corner.
Yeah.
The top park side.
All right, I guess what, my only concern is that what you're talking about, this over here, is in fact copper flashing.
Mhm.
And so you're gonna be running all these electrical wires on copper flashing.
Well, along that line, maybe right next to it or along the line.
Was any thought given to entering into the building and then just coming out in that location?
Yes, but puncturing is a, the net zero passive house designed home, so puncturing the roof is, and then going through the building and then going back out the building, it's a lot of penetrations to like a really well-designed type house. That's just not something
Sort of undoes,
very
it undoes what's been
advisable.
done, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, certainly, any of those punctures can be sealed just like any other puncture, like if you have a.
Well, sure, but you're
plumbing
still
vent or
puncturing
something.
things, yeah.
Well, that and also are you not puncturing the roof to install the solar array? How is the array going to be attached to the roof?
Well, okay, so there's flashing that goes under the shingles, and then there's EPDM rubber in between the screw, a J-lag screw, that goes in, gets tightened into the rafter. Then the racking and then the panels are on top of that. So it's designed to be very tight, sealed, so that water just runs right off of it. So it's designed specifically for with the shingles.
I think she's trying to respect the engineering proposed by the architect, and it's kind of a special and complicated situation where it's a passive house, it's a new technology. I can accept wires running underneath.
Well, also,
the facade because it's.
There's going to be limited, I think, that there will be limited visibility additionally, right, from the public right of way. If you were standing in the, not Catherine's house, but that house, in the yard here, you would be able to see that E. But from where the public stands is here and here, down on Church Street. So the opportunity to see along that valley is pretty limited.
Yeah, certain times of day.
Okay, and then you get to the other
It's
side.
limited. It's limited.
I just think it's like, we're dealing with a unique
I'm
problem
saying
where
in
this is a
support of
new
you.
technology.
Yeah, I
I'm
know, but-
speaking in support of you. I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think
I
you're going to
agree.
see
Yeah.
very often.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in a position to see where that.
Yeah, but okay,
It comes up the
you're
valley.
running a line up that gutter, which is right now a copper line gutter, and the flashing in the area. And then you're going over the ridge and back down the other side.
And
Okay?
that's the facade we don't see. We don't have an image of.
And certainly from the other side it would be visible.
Well, I have not seen. That's the one side that we don't have an image of. So I don't feel that I can
No, we
assess
don't
that.
have an image of it, but I mean, it would be visible from the other side. If you're at the corner of Northern.
Sure.
Looking at, you definitely see it.
Is
Well-
it possible that we could just
And
do?
it sounds a little weird going over the ridge without, I don't know
This
exactly
happens
what the
this happens
connection's
just down
made
the
of.
block. This happens just down the block at 25 High, where Michael Robinson installed an additional solar array
Mhm.
and had to come up over the ridge and down to meet his inverter on the north side of the house.
Mhm.
And it's very visible from Northern, and it is black, as I recall, it's black tubing that encases what runs from the array down to the inverter. It disappears against the roof.
And that's older technology.
Well, no, this is a new array he put in probably 2 or 3 years ago. They
Oh,
put on
okay.
an
Okay,
additional
so not
array
that
and
one.
had to
Okay.
go,
I was thinking
because
of
of
the
where it
other
was being
panel.
located, it had to go up over the roof. And we had we had the concern at that time, but it doesn't strike me as anything that you would even notice now that it's installed. Where I have the larger concern is not as the roof as much as how it's coming down, that it's being tucked and concealed in some ways. It comes down the facade because you worked so hard, Anne, to design a fantastic, yeah.
My
I
question
know,
is,
but the
could-
building is right now so clean that to have this thing going like right over the roof and then on the outside, I'd rather see it, go into the building.
Could
And,
we
I
just
mean,
bring the whole thing to the rear facade, since this
Okay.
is where the panel is going to be? Could
Bring the
all of
inverter
this
back there?
Michigas happen on this back gable as opposed to going up why not?
No, I agree
thought
with
you
you.
were saying no.
I was
As
gonna
opposed to
suggest
coming
that.
from here around this gable, across the front facade, and then up another gable, could we just do it here.
Or
Right.
does it need
And
to
then
be?
around
And
the
then,
back.
and then just run it straight down the eave until you hit the gutter and then drop at the gutter.
Yeah, that would
And
work.
then it's gotta
That would
go
work.
all the way
It's gotta go all the way
across
to the
house,
meter.
To the meter.
Yeah.
Is that, you prefer that?
It would be far
It would come
less noticeable.
along this eave here, from the,
No, let's start here.
okay, so it would go
It's
under this
1 inch
eave,
metal conduit.
down
Mhm.
to this facade, and
Yeah.
it would follow the line of the eave to the point where it drops down to the inverter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there are windows there or what's going on the other side, but yeah.
It's the same thing we're proposing, but
If
just
it's going
using
under the eave, there are
using
no
the back
windows that are
facade
up
as
against
opposed
the
to the
eave.
primary facade.
But it's
And then
still
go
got
all
to
the way
come to
along?
the front to be near the meter.
Right. What Sean is proposing.
Right, but it's just coming from
It-
behind
it's-
as opposed to starting at the front corner and
Is
going
this.
back to the meter.
Starting here, going to the eave, up, and following
Up here,
the eave
and
line
down the
over
gable,
here.
and then underneath.
Right.
So that it's tucked, so that it's tucked under here.
On the
That's
other
what-
side.
on the other side, right?
north side.
Yeah, just so that the main activity is happening on the rear facade of the building and not the primary facade of the building.
And
No,
I mean, I
it's
say
not.
activity,
And-
it's a 1 inch.
Right,
I mean,
it's
this-
small.
Yeah, I wanted to go under the eave.
No,
Yeah.
and what we're saying is,
No, on the other, on the other side of the
right
building.
now,
Yeah,
So
So if
down
it began here.
No, no.
right now,
Went under the
we're
So-
proposing coming
Along
this
the-
No,
way,
no, watch what he's,
up the
watch what
gable
he's
and
saying,
back
watch what
down
he's
again,
saying.
and then
This is
down
the
that
street?
facade.
Yeah.
Sean is
If
suggesting
the
coming
cable
here,
came out
Under
of
the
there
eave.
right
on the
here,
back
went
side and
under
running
the
along the
eave,
eave
to the
here,
ridge of the roof,
so that it's not
back
dropping so
down,
far down the front
and
of the
then
building.
remaining under the eave until we hit wherever the point is where it needs to go down to the inverter, as opposed to coming around
exactly.
the front and then back up
Well,
and
actually,
down
I
again.
think what she was
No.
talking about is going up, around, up here, and then over the roof, and then down that way.
Yes.
Oh, so remaining on the
So
surface of
this-
the roof the
yeah.
entire
Yeah,
time?
it would be boom, 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 and
We have the
then
back, we don't
down.
have that north.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what he's talking about is taking it, concealing it under the eave here, concealing it under the eave here, and then going down,
Right.
which actually is a much more elegant solution.
I
I think so too, if it's possible.
don't know that it's possible, just because there's only so many 90-degree vents that a piece of PV conduit can handle. So we always look for the shortest distance. I don't know. I could look at it though.
Well, there's so many 90 degrees that they can handle before you have a junction box. So essentially, you'll have a junction pull box, and then continue the run. The advantage of that is when you're pulling wires, you can only do 390s, because if you do 490s, you're now pulling against. It's in the code. It's in the
Yeah.
NEC. And I would assume the conduit's paintable.
Yeah.
So, you can put it up over there, paint it out the color.
Same color.
Whatever it's going by.
Right, and it'll disappear.
Brilliant, Sean.
Thank you.
Yes, brilliant.
Well, okay, wait.
If it works.
Is it possible? That's the question.
Of course it's
Well, if it's possible.
I mean, it's-
I don't
it's-
deal with this.
Well, anything's
It's more,
possible.
it's more conduit, but
I don't know.
Is it practical?
It might not be.
Okay.
But
Could you
I have to find out.
find out and then we can
Yeah.
talk about it in 2 weeks?
We're back here in 2 weeks for another voting session, so
Okay.
you could noodle it a bit, and we'll put you on under old business.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And when you come back, if you could bring a photograph of that other side, that'd
Yeah.
be great. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think it would only be 3 terms.
3
Right.
terms, yeah. No
One,
turn.
one at the peak of the gable, and then one at the corner, and then one
One
to go
down.
Well, no, because each of the time when you go up and then you turn, you got one that comes over the edge, then it's got to go back when I tuck it in. And so That and also you can do it with conduits, which is the same thing.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks,
Can
Ann.
you do that in exterior?
Huh?
Can you do that in an exterior installation?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, typically, that's the
You suggested the
installation
north
conduit.
facade, right?
I don't know which direction.
I didn't
North
catch.
is the side that faces your house.
Yes.
This is Northern Avenue.
I
Yeah,
don't-
so I guess it would be going up the gable end of the west facade and then along the on the north facade until we had a termination point and then
I'm just
drop
gonna say
down.
No, you'd have 490s.
Okay,
You would
at
have
any rate, we've
490s.
got two folks sitting here,
Yeah,
waiting, two sets of
we
applicants sitting here
can
waiting.
canvas that later.
To return.
Hi,
Great.
how are you?
Next.
I think we met before, Damien.
Hi, Damien.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Sean Summer.
Carolyn Bashan.
Carolyn, Damien.
Hi, I'm Claire.
I'm Claire.
Nice to meet you.
Oh,
Claire, nice to meet you. Carolyn?
Hi, Damien, I'm Kathleen.
Claire, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I heard Carolyn out of
Al
the side of my ear.
Polinsky.
Claire. I know you're Carolyn. I thought there was maybe another Carolyn.
there can be only one.
There can be only one.
So true.
Oh my god, my mouse just died. Hear it? No, it didn't.
Okay,
All right.
so
Boulevard.
everybody has their copy of the booklet.
Yes.
All right.
And we've all been to the site now.
No, I don't.
Tom made an additional
Oh,
visit.
because I wasn't here the
You
last
weren't
time.
here last time.
I have it all.
Oh, we have one for you.
Is this a new one?
No.
No,
Thanks.
say
We got
that.
this.
Is this the same one that we had the first time?
Ooh, fun.
Let me see. No, let me
Yes,
see.
I brought this from our last meeting.
Like this evening. So we did make another site visit with Tom, Andrea, and Carolyn. Carolyn and I went back.
Great.
And
I can't get enough of
the
it.
ladies at the table
I
went
can't
under
get
the
enough.
building,
Thank
just
you.
so we're clear.
Under the building.
Yes, in the addition.
They crawled into the crawl space.
Oh, what did you learn?
Bravely.
That
They did, I did.
That
I'm sure.
the finish, the dressing on the original foundation was stunning, beautifully pointed.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
that's under there, and that's something to follow. That's information we didn't have before, because it's all Portland cement on the outside.
Have a artifact.
Oh, the horse tooth that was under there.
That's
That was
horse
cool
or
too.
swine, we're not sure.
There's a snake skin that goes in through one of the windows.
Oh, there's gonna be more than that, yeah.
Mhm.
I've got something better. William Campbell's.
Than that? Come on.
Now, William Campbell's other job,
I dug for that.
besides being one of the founders of the Foundry in New York City, he was an agent for DuPont. And he was the agent for black powder sales. So if you're putting a powder room, you can have a black powder.
Ah.
That was terrible.
I know.
So
I
what's
know.
new?
Okay,
Well,
We could introduce ourselves.
See the two?
Yes, please.
I see the two places.
Oh, great. Well, here you go.
These are
I found it in the dirt under the foundation.
daughter of
Marianne.
I'm
Marianne.
Claire Marion, he was daughter,
Yes.
I'm married.
Damien,
Oh, okay.
my husband.
and they're going to be basically
It's a tooth. It's an animal tooth.
frequent visitors and staying at they have a vested interest in the project. Their whole family, it's like a family compound that
Sure,
they have
yeah.
planned.
We all live in the city, my twin sister, my husband and their baby, my little brother.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's kind of the goal is to have it be a family home where we can come up on the weekends and my parents can come to live there.
Excellent.
So,
okay. So and let me sort of go through, because this is, for us, an important project, which we're going to get into. There's some discussion as far as whether or not we can do the secret vote based on what we know. Now, am I correct that what you're, because the booklet is nice, but certainly is insufficient as far as an actual application for a certificate of appropriateness.
No.
But I think, at least my personal feelings, I think we can start the secret process, because that is something which runs. We know that you would like to demolish the addition that was on north side,
Right.
right? So I think based on that, do I have a recommendation as far as the seeker status?
So that's the state environmental quality review, which we discussed with your parents. Did we not take this last time?
No,
No.
no.
We weren't in voting.
Oh, we were
I have the
workshop
long
session,
form
correct.
ready to
Yep,
fill out
just
for-
looking back to my notes. So in that case, I move that it is a type 1, classified as type 1 action, because it is a nationally, part of the nationally listed portion of the historic district, and it is a significant individual property.
And I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do I have a motion that we be the lead agency?
I'll motion that.
So, second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So I get to issue a notice to everybody else.
Everybody else meaning?
Okay. Now,
Or other boards and
And
interested
other lead
agencies.
agencies could be like the zoning board or planning board or something like that.
Yeah,
Is that-
I mean,
just out of
for,
curiosity.
for the other applications that we've done this for, and it's gone to the zoning board, planning board, and also we sent it up to SHPO just for their 2 cents.
The State Historic Preservation Board.
They'll write a letter saying, this is what we think. So, I'll send this notice out by the end of this week. And then everybody, the other boards, the other 2 boards who will be involved or interested, whatever.
Well, that depends on what they
The-
need for zoning
the-
and planning. It's going to depend on what their application
Yeah, but we
needs.
don't have a referral from the building department which would refer them to, or do we?
We do.
To
Oh, you've
planning
got-
and zoning, planning and zoning if necessary? There
Just-
certainly will be
it's just
site plan.
us. It's just us.
No, there'll be site plan.
But it's a residential, so residential doesn't need a planning board referral.
For site plan?
Yeah.
We're doing what we're supposed to be doing within that zone, basically.
Well,
Wouldn't it
if I
only go
remember
if
the
it's
zoning
over a
laws
certain
correct.
proportion of the
Yeah,
coverage?
Huh?
Wouldn't it only be referred to them if it exceeded the
So
coverage?
that would be the ZBA. That would exceed 35% lot coverage.
Yeah, I think they're well within most, I mean, you have to check the zoning, and I guess the reason that there isn't any referral yet is because you really haven't prepared plans to submit to the building department. The building department then has to say, oh my God, you're inside this setback.
The
So,
building department will sort that out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I'm familiar with. But
So-
yeah, our feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, that before we draw plans and do everything, we'd sink a lot of money into it, we would get your approval first, or get your, somewhat approved in the sense of.
Well, the only qualification to that is that, as we had with our first applicant tonight, we need to have drawings clear enough so that we know what it is that we're approving.
Understood. We're
Right.
prepared to provide, and I actually have
Yeah.
some views already
Mm-hmm.
for you to look at that I'll present.
Okay.
Based on our workshop and site visit. Right,
Yep.
so when we all met with your parents and then met with you and.
Yeah, but I have,
Feedback.
Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff we want to walk through.
Great.
Okay. So we'll start with the EAF. That's the key to the secret process. We need to review that and take a vote, and then whoever else needs to be involved. But I think that what you're saying is that you would really like to sort of sit down with us and see exactly conceptually what you
yeah,
guys want to do.
what you think would fly.
Yeah.
And what we'd like is kind of clear, somewhat clear, not every last aspect of it, but I have,
The
I
concept.
think I have that view.
Before we move into your discussion, I just want to ask one more process question. We have 2 other properties that are going through the same environmental review right now. We are clear that we do not need to issue an RFP, right? We can.
That's according to the mayor, right to
I'm
my
just-
face.
I know, I agree, I'm just saying that out loud. So that can go forward, can we just continue, can we just add this to AKRF's list of,
Well, I guess Sean was advocating for one of the other ones. Do we want to?
to see as a comparison?
I think for our not putting all of our eggs in one basket, it would be a
Yeah.
good idea to have an additional consultant.
So we'll come back to that discussion after. That was a process. So the EAF.
Missed a lot of the acronyms there.
Oh, sorry. So the environmental assessment form that Tom has, and you fill out the first portion of, and we fill out the second and third portion. We work with.
That's a secret classification.
Exactly.
Got
That's
it.
a secret document. We work with a consultant on the completion of that document as part of the environmental review. So AKRF is a consultant we're working with on the other projects. My question was, would it be efficient to have that company continue on this one? And because this is our first time through this sort of review with these folks, one of the members is advocating for using a different firm as a comparison.
And does that, I don't know, does that, we already did a ton of the environmental assessment, I guess, as part of the purchase of the property. Does that
No,
overlap at all?
Not seeker though.
That's environmental soil testing.
Right.
So that's different.
This is what we look at, with the environmental aspect that our board looks at is character.
Okay, I understand.
Well, actually, as lead agency,
I
we
just
look at
hadn't
all
finished.
aspects.
We look at all aspects, but-
And we look at the aspects that are specified under state environmental law. And so whatever you might have done for Scenic Hudson is separate and not involved with, some of that may be
Yeah, there certainly
ultimately
would be some
included in
crossover,
the,
but-
and quite frankly, if the board would like to go to AKRF and a couple just to compare prices, if nothing more,
Mhm.
and basically, what their team consists of, I can very quickly draw up a sketchy RFP and circulate it to 2 or 3 or 4 consultants that I have on the list. To see just, okay, for this type of, expertise, what do you charge, and boom, 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 boom. Yeah, because we.
And that's something that they come and assess the exterior and.
No. When you get a chance, and it doesn't really make sense to tie everybody up, but go look through the environmental assessment form. It's a form which talks about the development. And what environmental analysis did you do for Scenic Hudson?
Basically just to check to see if there's any pollutants in the
Right.
soil.
And recall there was no seeker review when the planning board was dealing with the subdivision because it was a lot line adjustment.
There wasn't a subdivision, so
I'm
the
sorry,
planning
not
board,
sub- it
so
was-
the planning board had nothing to do with it, essentially.
Right, because it was put forward, modified and put forward as a lot line revision, so seeker never kicked in.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked it is that, did you hire somebody to do that? Because they may be able to fill out this EAF for you relatively easily.
Yeah, we don't need to, why don't we look at it?
A portion of
Yeah,
it.
take a look at the form, and you'll see,
Yeah.
you'll see what's involved there, and but what we're talking about is in addition, and because you guys fill out part 1,
Mhm.
and then we deal with part 2 and part 3 if it's necessary. So, you guys will have to, start the ball rolling on
Mhm.
that. And then we hire a consultant who guides us through the evaluation. So that's what we were talking about, which firm that we do. So, but that is something which, we can start on the process.
We can talk among ourselves about
Yeah,
that.
we can start that process, and I'll issue a notice of lead agency, and we'll get that portion of it moving.
Have you actually filed an application to our board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and I think it was actually, yeah, because
This came in the workshop.
I know, but we were given the application in workshop also. You guys
Yeah.
submitted this application
Yes.
before.
It was in before the workshop.
Yeah. So,
Do we need to vote to go into workshop system?
Yes, we do.
well,
Can I move that we go into workshop?
But what's this for?
but
So
now we'll
this
discuss
portion-
your plans.
This portion of the agenda is the portion we're voting on. Now we're moving into talking with you about concepts. So we're coming out of voting session and into workshop session.
Basically, we can't
Let's
vote.
hold on for just a second. In the environmental assessment process, under state law, we are allowed to request escrow funding.
It's already been
for-
paid.
It's already been paid?
It's paid, it's $5,000 was put in escrow.
Okay.
I will second moving into workshop.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. We're now in workshop. We change hats.
Okay.
Different pointy hats.
Just maybe to start, I kind of made the adjustment to the, what we're calling the front of the house, which is faces the river. And basically, if this was, and I have a copy for each of you, if this was, represents the original.
Mm-hmm.
The addition, when I have a floor plan of the addition at this point would come to about here.
Sure.
And so we're proposing to step it down, divide the siding, offset the seams, maybe change the sizing of the siding, have a corner board there to make a separation. And then this place the windows. These work with the room floor plan that we're hoping for, so it kind of works in the sense of symmetry, but we could turn this into, we could change these windows, it's not locked, we're not locked into that, that's
The month
it's in the
ends,
sense
yeah.
of concept. This is just, what we would do with these is really rigorously look at what's there and have the page try to recreate that as best, close replica.
Mhm.
And use that again here, use it on this side, which I have joined of also, and make this like a really traditional screened-in porch, copper standing seam. It seems like what I saw in the old drawing, but that could be. I like to do flat, curled over copper soldered, which is really old and nice looking. So that you might catch glimpses of that. That's another possibility.
Well, you may have to do that because of the flatness of
Yeah,
the roof.
that too, and we're good at it. So we're not afraid to throw that. Basically, the trim detail and everything, that basement crawl space window you guys crawled through, really nice, clean, like I think what originally was on the house everywhere. A beaded
It's
opening.
beautiful.
It's very. I looked at it again and I said, now that to me was, nobody bothered to mess with it because it was down in the basement. So that that we would propose to recreate whatever trim detail we could best find a record of as to original. So and that's for my crew. That's not a problem. Like cutting that bead around each, we'll just run lengths of it. Do it like pretty much they did it, but we use a router instead of a hand.
Sure.
And so that's our proposal for this view of the house, and then this is the other. These are the two views that I see as being most easily seen by the public. That's a bad drawing of this door. That would probably be best viewed as one of these.
Sure.
But,
Which one are we looking at?
You're just saying the
looking
month
from the
is
south.
Oh, right.
So this is
From the viewing platform,
this is
roughly.
what would be the original, and ignore that missing lines and stuff. I think with this on.
Sure.
And then this is what comes out back in the back. Like the garage is here, and I'll show you a floor plan so you understand. This is set in. This is way forward. This is the L part, and
I'll tell you one thing, that looks awfully like 3 stories.
okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is
We're
this
proposing
part is new?
a shed dormer here
Oh,
on the very top
okay.
because there's a stair here. that-
Right.
It's our only access to the whole attic because we want to eliminate that stair in the room. So we're looking to get a little bit of headroom right there. And this is like in the inside corner.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
remember
it just,
the-
it
It
just
could be
that-
a dormer.
Yeah, when you're doing the plans, because, the village has fought the issue as far as 3 stories.
An occupancy. We wouldn't, I understand all that. We wouldn't try to change that or occupy this. It's just our only way up here.
Okay.
And I think we want to keep access to the attic besides that one hatch door that was originally.
Well,
But we don't have to go to the end.
yeah.
Are you talking about widening one of these windows?
No, I want to keep these original. I'm doing a bad job of drawing that. But,
Okay,
It's the original.
Okay,
So I'm not on my phone, I'm looking at the pictures from when we were there the other day, I'm not calling from protecting something.
I have a picture of that. But in any case, just to remind you guys what we're talking about is tearing this down because
No, we understand.
in our mind, yeah, but this is, to me, part of this, in the sense of add-on that's somewhat past other era. And we would like to remove that as well.
To restore that
And
federal.
get this cleaned up and then start over. And our argument is that this is kind of like very poorly proportioned to begin with, but it's also very weak. And I did undermine one of the pillars of this foundation, and it's about this deep, and then it's rubble or dirt. So there's really this has a true amazing foundation. This
It all
has,
goes down to a full story.
yeah, and this has pretty much no foundation. And then it's undersized in all the floor and the second floor. And so if we had to try and save it, it would be very costly, but also it would be like, we remove all the plaster to reshore it, reframe it. We underpin this temporarily so we could change the foundation. We take out the siding, and we replace that. We take out, pretty much all you have left of this is a shadow of what's there. If you're going to actually restore this, it would be like nothing that's original except the shape. There's everything, and a few sticks of framing that
I
are hidden.
mean, you'd get rid of the secret bathroom.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, so, I mean.
You were stunned saying that hidden bathtub.
I get, that's
This is strange.
what we'd like to get is a feeling from you guys if you're really opposed to, I know it's historic. We're not acting like it's from the 50s.
Yeah.
But, because it's
Well,
not,
I
it's clearly
think-
not. And
I
I think I know when it's from.
Yeah, I think that the issue that you would need to address as far as the addition is to get as much information about when it was built, you know, who built it, is it connected with anybody of any importance to the village, and so on, things like that.
Yeah, and
I think,
if we exhaust that, how do we know we exhaust that research?
Well,
Because I think I know timeline in the building technique that this goes past a certain, it's older than, you know, I discovered cut nails, horsehair plaster, you know, certain things that would, and then there's a stove in there that's from 1890. I think it's right 1890, 1900 kind of time period that was built. That's my, you know, my gut feeling about it.
There's an interesting map that was given to us on another project, the 1853 Bevins map. And it shows, this was given to us on 35 Market. And it shows the outline of this building. Is this the Bevins?
I think it's the Bevins. That's the one that she found it.
No, that's not it. This is W. Campbell. Okay.
This is Miller's, what's it say? No date. This is the one that the county had, and then flipped. Well, at any rate.
This is not as big. That actually does show an addition there, and that is 1853. Now, this addition may have been built and rebuilt a number of times. We don't know that. In terms of being associated with important personage in the history of Cold Spring, certainly William Campbell was, but his family lived here for several generations, and they married into the Campbells, or the Campbells married into them. And the Campbells also had, you know, an important history. So you know, in terms of the associations, in terms of the archaeological significance of the site, because that's the whole National Register basis for it being on the National Register. It's a West Point boundary archaeological site. And this house is listed specifically as a contributing element to that site. You know, that's established. So whether it's 1850, 1880, 1890, it still is associated with, you know, it's one family essentially, but many generations. And as you know, their daughters married somebody with a different last name, it stayed in one family until the time it was sold to the to City Hudson.
I think our biggest concern with the addition as it is, you know, this is, Mary and David have purchased this as like a big scale family house for, you know, we're expecting a child in January. Our twin sister has a little boy, and, you know, they're one set of parents with 5 siblings, and there's 4 functional bedrooms plus a kid's bedroom in this area, and the purpose of this, because Marianne was 15 years younger than David, was that, you know, when one of them passes away, that this would be an apartment for her to basically live in. And right now, I think, like, from a safety perspective, it seems like architecturally it's not a sound place to be building on. And, you know, we're already $1 million into this property. We have a budget of about $2 million for it, and having to shore this up would frankly increase it by up to probably $500,000 above that. Which is something that is going to be well above our budget, which is already above where we thought it was going to be in the first place. So that's going to help.
But you knew you were purchasing a property in the historic district, and and part of the, I mean, that's part of the deal when you buy an old house.
Totally understand that. We were under the impression that, you know, everything was going to be.
This part of it was
that part was
going
going
to
to
be
be.
easy. That's kind of,
Well, I mean, it's
not easy, but doable. Nothing's easy.
Put it this way, essentially, you guys need to convince us that it can go.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
you know, that's going to be your job. And, you know, if there are a lot of structural issues, then, you know, what one of the other applicants had was a structural engineer who did a report showing that that he felt it wasn't structurally sound. So, I mean, that's how you have to.
I'm pretty clear here. For me, that I'm pretty clear that portion has its own. It is not. Originally, your mother said 1950s, and I think because she was looking at appliances and things in the kitchen, it's very clear that building is. That portion of the building is much older. I was thinking 1880 or 90 myself. It has its own historic significance, and it's part of the fabric and it's part of the story. So I think we want to be careful as we're saying these things that we're not leaving the impression that all you need to do is come back and say, oh, a structural engineer said it's not sound, down it goes. I mean, it's part of this building's history, and this is a very significant building in our district.
Significant. You know, out of all the buildings in the district, I recently, for other reasons, was looking at every building that was built before 1840, and there's only about 16 or 17 in the entire village, much less in the district, that are before 1840. And whether this building is 1811, as some have suggested, which I think is incorrect.
This side of the side.
The original print.
The original print. And this is not, by the way, the Gouverneur Kemble, so, I mean, some of the design details that you're incorporating here were from the Gouverneur Kemble house, which actually was smaller and lower than this building and had slightly different chemistry. You know, this is one of the earliest existing buildings in the entire village. And it's in not only National Register site, and every National Register site is also in the State Register. And we will, because we're a certified local government by the state and we do a lot of business with the state, we're not going to jeopardize our certified local government status. And they will have input on this. Yeah, it's part of the continuum of history. It may be 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe 1850, it may be 1910. But given the little bay window on the one side of it, that tells me 1870, 1880. And, though that could have been added on later. That might have been, there might have been an earlier window or door there.
I also have, as I look at the design, I appreciate the intent of the use, and the direction you're trying to go with bringing in a secondary residence in the structure. What I see as an addition that overwhelms the original structure. It doesn't defer.
I actually think we have to do some calculations on that.
Well, I'm responding to what I see visually, and I understand that this is set back and it's in an L, but that roof line, and let's see what you got.
So just one other point, quickly before we move on to that. I think we obviously have the same intention, is to restore the house, and I think that's something that my parents intend to do. But we're also working within the reality of the budget, and definitely understand that it was bought as a historical property. I think part of potentially how it was presented by Scenic Hudson was not necessarily the way it's presented by the historical board, which we.
Well, Scenic Hudson met with us.
We need to purchase on the basis of what
I understand, but you need to know that Scenic Hudson came to us with their draft contract long before it was sold. So they were very much aware, and they know from their own properties review what the requirements of the Historic District Review Board are. So that part doesn't fly. Yeah.
So the existing footprint is could be off by a few feet, but it's 1,638 square feet, and we're proposing to add 962. So what we're proposing to add, if you look at the hash mark, that's existing with the existing porch. We're proposing to add this more 11 feet and this 26 by 30 or something. It's a little over, it's about 26 by 26 here. A little longer, it's 26 there, that way. So basically, proportionately, we're not doubling the size of the house.
Well, except if you actually demolish this portion here,
Yeah, but
you're actually creating more new space than the existing
net gain,
space.
we're not.
net aesthetic gain.
Well, I mean, for me, it's part of it is the roof line.
Can we just walk through that?
Yeah,
Can we
please.
just look through let's look at the roof line, because what I would love to do is get you guys exactly what you need so that everybody's comfortable. Because my view is that this is going to be just an unbelievable property when it's done. And I take the train out here all the time, and it looks like there's beer bottles all over this place and whatever. And, I can't imagine that what we're proposing isn't going to be a significant improvement over what's already there. But let's walk through, because I would love to get you guys what you need so that we can be as efficient as possible with your time. Because this is different than the roof line we discussed last time, correct?
Yeah, it's divided up rather than a continuum here. So this is, for me, this is what the majority of people are going to see. Every other viewing point they're going to see, but they're going to have to almost use binoculars to see it.
All right. But just let me go back to
the platform.
essentially what we're dealing with is what is.
Yes, no, I'm counting that. That's what this is.
That's
the water
So you're looking at
This is the water view.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
I
say
know,
most
it's significant.
It's the most significant, is
All
what
right,
I'm saying.
but the thing is that what you're asking us to approve.
Not
is-
approved, we're just going
Well,
to see if
it-
it's going to be.
let me finish my statement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What you're asking us to approve in this concept
Mhm.
is demolition of this.
Yeah.
And that is, it's part of what is there right now, and our job is going to be to make a decision whether or not that's historic fabric that we want you to preserve.
Okay.
I think that's what it boils down to. Once we get past that issue, then we can talk about how it can be modified, added to, or changed. But I think, the question is that what is the significance of this little piece that was added?
No, okay. That's our first step.
And what we've done is we've contacted a couple consultants, because the only way to do that is to get a historian to come and actually go in and take a look at time lapses of nails and decay of the board. I think that's probably going to cost us $10,000 to $30,000. Would be my guess. Is that something that you'd recommend that we move forward with?
Well, I think that you're going to have to
Tom you went and looked at the nails, and your understanding that you, like we were talking about before, was that the bent nails were started in 1880 and were in place by 1910.
Cut nails.
So
I
we're
know.
within like a 30-year
I know,
period.
but the business about cut nails is that they still sell cut nails well after, wire nails came in. So the issue is, right now, we're just saying, oh, we're gonna knock this down, but, the issue is that we need, our job is to preserve the historic fabric of the district. Right now, until you guys convince us otherwise, this is historic. So, if you do in fact want to demolish this piece, we're gonna have to see why. What is it that you found that justifies,
But we're gonna have to demolish this with the exception of a few poles going up anyway, like you said, because of the structural integrity of it.
Well,
Does
I mean, that
do we
could
have to
be
get
a
approval for that as
justification,
well?
but you guys need to show that to us.
Okay.
It's not something that we can just sort of sit around and
Yeah.
say, yeah.
Yeah. No, I got you.
That makes
I got
sense.
you. I got you.
And the other thing to know is as we go forward in the environmental quality review portion, we will be required to look at all of the alternatives. And one alternative is that that's demolished, but then other alternatives are incorporating that historic fabric in the design. And we're required by law to look at all the options, right? You have to demonstrate that there is no other possibility for reusing this fabric and it has no significance. And it's okay to come down. Those are high bars to reach, especially on a National Register property.
And do you guys have a template of someone that's done this successfully in the past with the Village of Cold Spring that you could send us so we can prepare exactly what you need? Because our biggest concern, to be frank, like I mentioned, is, and like Claire mentioned, we're on a budget. And we're happy to spend as much money as we need to make this perfect, but every $30,000 that we spend on consultants means we're one step closer to not being able to complete this, not having to sell the property or whatever we have to do to move away from it, because we're under.
Except I don't think that we're talking about $30,000. I mean, for an engineer to come in and give you a structural analysis, and you tell me that's going to cost you
No.
I just didn't know, I think what Damien's referencing is if it's like all of the historical timing of
It's
it,
pretty
every
involved,
single piece.
like
of
dating wood and going back into
Right,
this thing.
I think
Like
that's-
that's a.
Depends, like, I guess, the level of involvement.
I'll pinpoint.
Well,
Well,
let me say one other thing, and I don't want to rain on your parade, but the fact of the matter is that when Scenic Hudson purchased this site and had initially no specific plan for it, finally, many years later, they came to us with a plan for the viewing platform over by the marsh and the stairway coming up. They had done some archaeological work, principally on the foundry area. They had done a little archaeological work here, but it was kind of like, oh, a little boring here, a little boring there, a little boring here, and a little boring there. Because this is on the National Register as an archaeological site, one of the things we are mandated to do is to look at the archaeology of the site. You will be disturbing, now this site has previously been disturbed, but in their initial archaeological look, they found things going back to pre-colonial times and to Native Americans artifacts and things here. And you will be disturbing an area where you'll have to put in some form of foundation, whether it's on piers or whether it's on a regular, perimeter foundation. And as long as you're going to be disturbing the site, you're going to have to do some archaeological work here. It's not going to be simply looking at this 19th century addition, late 19th century addition, and determining the structural capacity of it, the structural integrity of it. This is a very complicated project. We've never had a project with this type of historical significance and with alterations being made to it. The type of things that Scenic Hudson did for the boundary area themselves, most of those were ruins. And with the exception of the office building, which they have very slowly been doing certain restorative projects on. They did the roof, they restored the bell tower, they've done some repointing, et cetera. But basically, and then that was very, they spent a heck of a lot of money on it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, there's never been a project that touches a property that's so significant as this one.
Yeah, and I think that's what Damon was referencing in terms of the kind of type of research and historical dating.
There's been a lot of investigation that has been done. I think the first step is to go and get that. I mean, Scenic Hudson has a lot of that information.
And what are we
And
looking
then-
for there? It's just like,
Well,
What is that?
Scenic Hudson had work done
With
by
the
Michigan
Michigan.
Technological University or Institute, and some of that was archaeological, but on this particular portion of the site, it was very light, it was feather duster.
Well, but I think also we're getting hung up on one aspect here. We're getting hung up on the date. I think you're sitting at a table.
No, not just the date, but
I
also
wanna
the process that we have to
I
go through.
understand.
And I
I'm
want
trying
full
to clarify.
disclosure of this.
I'm trying to clarify for the applicant. You keep coming back to getting consultants to date things. Dating things is one thing. You know, we all deal with architectural history. We have a sense of how, all of us have a sense of how old that structure is, that portion of the structure. It's not, that is important, but it is not the only thing. The primary task is going to be investigating, you're starting at demolishing it. We're saying you need to consider other options, which is how do we incorporate, what are ways that we can incorporate the fabric that's there? And that might be, as Tom talked about, the foundation, right? Finding ways to fortify and address the foundation so that you can incorporate that fabric into addition. So
but
we
are we
can't
using, like,
just
the
start
windows
at
and
take it
stuff on the
down.
addition? Like, isn't the point just to have a replica of, like, this looks pretty bad in my opinion. I think the point was to use the window frames and everything to create a replica that's a little bit
But we don't
bigger.
deal in replicas, we deal in historic fabric.
But back to Tom's point though, there's no way that this is a livable structure.
It was lived in
with-
until 10 years ago.
But there's no way this is a livable structure from a safety perspective with grandkids in the family if you have to demolish everything that just goes into 6 or 7 wood blocks.
Here's what we're dealing with. And I'm just throwing this out as an example. What if Abraham Lincoln spent, a year here? Because he was fascinated with, the cannon that they were making in the foundry. I mean, there you have, even though it's not in good shape, it has a connection with a historic figure. But we don't, and we know this portion is because this portion was, this is what William Kemble lived in. That was his house. So all we're saying is that you have to do the research and tell us why this isn't worthy, it's not worthy to be preserved as much as the original.
All right.
Got it.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's...
Fair, though, it's fair.
Yeah.
I understand. It's fair.
And if...
Your job is.
And it sounds like also what all of the alternatives are.
Yeah.
And can you find a way to maintain that storyline of the structure and the actual fabric?
Also, we found in the attic, which may be of interest to you since you have young children, that beautiful piece of linoleum. Did you see that in the attic?
There's very early linoleum. I'll show you a photograph of it. It's a child's
Gorgeous.
playroom pattern.
It's a
like
children's playroom in the attic.
It's Mother Goose pattern.
it's Mother Goose patterning of some of the
it's
earliest
prob-
linoleum.
Find it. And
I
some
would
of it-
say
some
it's-
of it
I would say
was-
that's 1910 linoleum.
It's
You're not going to want your kids playing
gorgeous.
it, but it's cool.
And if you can save a piece of it and frame it somewhere in your house, please do it. It's so beautiful. A part of it, so it's like a big linoleum mat. The way the linoleum was made back then was that you basically had a piece of canvas and linseed oil and
That's where the linen.
and sawdust and yeah, lino, and it like real lino smells great. But anyway, it would have smelled great back then. But I mean, to make something like that back then was just exquisite. They would have had to cut all the different pieces of linoleum and like fit them together like tile. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Part of it was folded underneath a ladder that was propped up against the wall of the attic. If you can unfold it and clean it a little bit, you're gonna see this fantastic piece of art that was made for children, and I mean, please appreciate it. It's up there. It's really unique. It's beautiful. It's just a total side point.
Also, a big
There's my-
chunk of a tree is up there too, which I found to be really.
Was really weird. Yes.
You're out there,
I don't know
right?
why.
I didn't notice the tree.
Yeah. The attic is an
It's
interesting
just
space.
a really long.
Didn't even see
A
it.
long,
Totally
Trying to
long,
figure out how.
which actually I could totally picture a little kid just dragging out there.
I mean, you have the Putnam County Historical Society, they have a lot
let's
of
get these
information about the foundry, and that was one of the reasons it was formed. There's a lot of information on the internet. Scenic Hudson, I know they gathered a lot of information when they first acquired the property because they had a bunch of sessions to go over what to do with the foundry. So, you know, there are sources, I mean, you don't.
I think you had a couple others that you mentioned.
Well, no, I contacted a gentleman here in the village who is related to one of the families, and he said that his cousin.
Alice, I saw him today.
They still live there.
You saw
So
him?
his cousin Alice is out of the country. She has what remains of the family archive, but he is attempting to contact her for you to connect you.
And also in terms of insights into William Campbell and whatever, you know, light that may shine, the West Point Museum has stuff, the Putnam History Museum has stuff, the Morgan Library in Manhattan has stuff, the New York Historical Society, there's a museum down in Delaware because of the DuPont connection, and one of William Campbell's sons married a DuPont daughter.
What's that?
Also, I told Carolyn, just another point of interest, a lot of those people were buried in the St. Philip's, the Episcopal Church's graveyard in Garrison.
So they're church records. I mean.
Yep, church records,
Yeah,
which
church-
are actually
church
very
records.
well kept, I can say from experience.
Yeah. I know where Goodner Campbell is buried, but I don't know where William is buried. I mean, he might be in Colesbury, I don't know.
So just so I understand what we owe you guys, on one side, it's trying to get a better sense of who lived in here versus here, and when somebody was, if Kemble was in here and then somebody else built this and lived in there, you'd like to know that information?
Well, we're not so much interested
It's going
in,
outward.
we're not so much interested in the genealogy and just
We're
like
giving you
that, you know, in the
pointers.
history of the people. But because we know that the Kemble family and the Campbell family were related, they were
Okay.
intermarried, okay? So we know that it is like one continuous family for generations, that from William all the way till when it was sold to Scenic Hudson is just that generation after generation of interrelated people. So we know that whoever lived here, it was all part of that same clan. The only reason I mention the stuff in the libraries and museums is because sometimes they will also have visual stuff. Sometimes they will have a letter talking about.
Boy, the
construction of
contractor's
the-
really ripping me off on this
Yeah, right.
addition.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, you know,
It was
it's
poorly built, if you ask me.
Well, the original house wasn't.
No,
The original house
that's
was
nicely built.
solid.
That foundation is beautiful.
But it looked like they did the second, the
You just
addition.
have you just have to jump on the second floor of the addition to realize that it's.
I did.
We did, we jumped on it. We crawled into the foundation and everything.
You know, for example, the Grove, and I don't know if you, well, the Grove, a lot of what they did was based on information that they got from correspondence of the Lenti family, when they did the research on it. So.
And
it's-
basically the man who owned the house was essentially bitching about his architect.
Right. So, you know, that sort of thing, and, you know, that'll give you dates on when it was actually built, you know, who was involved, you know, whether or not Lincoln actually slept there.
And if we get Tom to do an assessment on the structural integrity of this, that's probably helpful as well, right? Because it'll assess whether or not we can actually restore anything that's here in a safe format. Is that?
Yeah,
Because we discussed a bunch of this, and I think you walked through some of the stuff with the pillars, and why don't we take some photos of that, we can write it up, and.
I think we would prefer to see.
I'll get my
engineers,
card now. I'll get my
It will have a
card.
structure on it.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're being efficient. And then in
Yeah.
terms of what happens after we like, what's the this
So,
is my
okay.
naivete, I just like to know the process, because our job, and Claire's and my job, is to really manage the cadence of this as well as the finances.
Right.
And so we just want to make sure that we're managing that appropriately for our attorneys.
Right. So, basically, the seeker process, more than anything else, will really address the historic aspects of the existing structure. Once that issue is resolved, then, we can talk about, is this the appropriate addition? Are there changes that we would like to see as far as what is being done? So I think that, for example, if, let's say, we say, well, really, all you need to do is save this front facade, then, that's another way of going on this. Or, the whole thing needs to stay and maybe you should add something behind it. So these are all options that we have to take a look at. And ultimately...
And in terms of the next steps on the actual historical thing, what is it that needs to go to motion? Is we define this as a
You
historical...
need to submit the environmental
EAF.
assessment form, part 1 of the environmental assessment.
And that
What
will
would
be
you guys
included
want
as
here? Like, what would be the motion? If we had everything in place tonight, you would say, we've reviewed the assessment of this from a archaeological, environmental, whatever perspective. We understand the significance of it, and we've taken a structural assessment of it, and it's not, the fabric of it isn't replicable or whatever because of the X, Y, and Z. So we approve the understanding of the historical significance as well as the move forward to go to talk about what we're actually going to do with it. Is that the motion? Or?
See, ultimately, the EAF, and when you go through it, what it is looking for us to do is take a vote on
The impact of the change. So does it have a positive impact, meaning it is in some way detrimental to the resource? Or is it a negative declaration? What you're proposing will not have a negative, negative, it's just exactly the opposite. Negative declaration means it will have an impact on the resource. Positive declaration says, am I saying it
No.
backwards?
No, you're
Saying it
backwards.
backwards.
I had it right the
You're
first
backwards.
time.
No, you had it right the first time.
I had it right the first time. Go ahead.
Okay. So,
I'm following.
Yeah, a positive declaration means that it will have an impact on the historic resource, on the integrity of the historic resource or whatever, or some other aspect of the environment. And a negative declaration means it has none. There's also sort of in-between things that that some certain mitigation might come into it. Mitigation usually happens when you have things like stream runoff or
Well, mitigation can also be steps in your design that you can modify your proposal in a way that maintains a portion. So maintaining a portion of it would be a mitigation that might reduce impact.
That's right.
So there are a number of ways, and it's right now it seems daunting and large, but as we move through that seeker process, these things sort of fall into place. I mean, another thing to think about, I'm just throwing this out, one of the things that we talked about on the site the other day is, if your goal is accommodating ancillary housing, do you consider a separate structure on the site? It's a large site that doesn't impact the fabric at all, right? So
I think you can do both.
So there are a range of options.
No,
Just
there's a
looking at
mass-
this.
This is not impactful on the site whatsoever from.
No,
you
she's
just-
saying it's a historical.
No, I know,
fabric, I think.
but you can't build a separate site. That's not here. Like, if we wanted to build a separate
She's
site.
saying
somewhere-
Yes, you can.
Building.
Scenic Hudson
Separate
allows you
building.
to build one additional ancillary structure. I'm
You're right.
throwing out to you an example of a mitigation that would reduce impact on the historic fabric. I'm not saying do that,
Yeah.
but that's one of the things we can look at as an alternative.
By the way, although we saw an initial draft of Scenic Hudson's restrictions on the site, we did not see the actual things that are in your deed in terms of the speed restrictions. So,
That needs to be acquired.
Well,
So
we
know-
would like to see
yeah,
that, so we
sure.
know, we know what the parameters are
We know-
also
yeah,
that
okay.
you're
Yeah,
dealing
because
with.
then you
Yeah.
can advise
And so all of these processes will be included as part of this
process, this
Right.
EAF process.
Right.
Correct. So
And
we-
it's not a
Because-
slow process, it'll take months.
I mean, it's not a fast process.
Well, yeah, it's not, yeah.
Ultimately, the goal in the EAF process is that you get a negative declaration. Then that means that whatever is identified in the part 2 or part 3, if part 3 is necessary, that will be what you can do. And it'll talk about the existing the historic fabric plus whatever else we're proposing or that we're discussing.
So if you were to end up with a positive declaration, which is a possibility, where you say this proposal does have an impact, then the next step is saying, okay, what switches can we flip that mitigate that impact and reduce it
And is it you guys that decide on the positive or negative declaration? Got it.
as lead agency?
And what would your best estimate be from today, assuming that we do everything as quickly as we can on our end? Like, what's the cadence of, because my understanding is there's workshops and there's monthly review meetings. Can we come to both of those and bang this out?
Yeah, I mean, you know.
I just want to be as efficient, because like,
Right, I
the end
understand.
product here is going to be awesome for everybody, is
Yes,
my
it will,
guess.
yeah.
And at the same time, we're managing an investment, so I want to make sure that like we're not sitting in for a year, because we're having a job in January.
Right.
We run the impression that this would be ready by next summer. That really does
We all
not seem like it's
understand
the case.
No, right.
And like,
This
it
could
would
be
be a terrible outcome for everybody if we had to walk away from this, because we can't
This
afford it.
is, this could be a 3 to 6 month process, I'll be quite honest with you.
Until
And-
we're ready to put stuff in the ground.
Until you get the permits.
Well,
So we get
until you
the-
get the certificate of appropriateness from HDRB, which then allows a building department to issue a
Give you a
building
permit,
permit.
right.
Got it.
And, you know, we'd like to have it as condensed as possible also.
Of course.
You don't want to drag these things out.
Yeah, we're doing this for free, so it's not, you know.
Well, we're not doing.
We're paying.
I've got
Yeah, we
better
don't
things to
get
do.
paid, I mean, we're volunteers, but we're volunteer village employees.
I don't know how you do it.
I'm just,
Huh?
I'm.
Yeah, we sit there till
Crazy
midnight.
patience.
Midnight. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, basically, what we've managed to do, this board and previous members of the board, is that we workshop projects to death, so we don't have to go to a situation where we have to say no,
Right.
all right? So we, you know,
Those are the levers.
the worst case in this project would be, you do the part 1 EAF, we do the part 2. The part 2 says we must do a part 3, we do the part 3, and the part 3 comes out with a positive declaration, meaning we have to go to environmental impact statement. We really don't want to go there, we don't have to, okay? So we want to, you know, sort of,
Work together to try.
you know,
Yeah.
have some sort of, almost an arbitration type of thing, and, you know, a mediation thing here, to say, okay, well, what if I do this, what if I do that? And it's all on paper, and paper is cheap.
We're only
compared to-
really required to meet once a month. This board gives extra time to meeting multiple times a month to keep these processes moving along. So,
Okay, but you want to know, you know, what's the process? So the process is that we're going to be going through the EAF. We're going to get this consultant on board, and that's the escrow that we asked for. You know, they will take us through the EAF. They'll review your part 1 and see if it's been filled out properly. And this is an environmental consultant who has a lot of experience in filling this stuff out. And they'll tell you, they'll then prepare a part 2, and we'll go through it. So I think that what we're looking at is probably would be able to, in a couple of weeks, have a consultant on board.
Well,
lead
it has to go to
agency
the,
needs to
it
be
has to go to the
determined first.
village board. for-
Right, but I mean, you know, we can have it, have a recommendation and probably,
For the village board, yeah, in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
certainly.
Do we need
So-
to, do we need to wait for the 30 days?
well, yeah, we're
Elapse.
gonna need to wait for the 30 days. Well, unless if the
That's
planning
not
board and the
contest.
zoning board respond and say no, then we don't have to wait, because they have up to 30 days. So, hopefully, we can get consultant on board, and when we get the EAF, we'll give that to them. I think that probably some sort of report as far as the conditions that you found. I mean, start telling the story of what you see there. Whatever research you can do on the history of the building. I think these are all things that are going to have to be blended into our analysis. Yeah. Well, that's going to be a document that you're going to be submitting to us. So I think for the next couple of months, what we're talking about is really you guys doing a lot of research, and hopefully we'll go through the whole secret process and really sort of find out exactly what other investigations we need from you.
And part of that is conversations with your very talented builder about alternatives that look at incorporation of all or elements or none.
Okay.
Should we leave some of the materials that you brought as well? So we can review,
I
or-
think, I mean, I have drawings of this, but this, I think we have to go by the, first things first.
Yeah.
That would be your filling out the form, and maybe getting Mike Carter to do an engineering review of it.
Do we fill
Do
out
the
the form, or?
history.
We fill out
And
Well,
Like, I
start
can
the
do it,
historic
whatever,
research.
so I need to hire somebody to.
So I
think the
sent-
historic research is the number one.
I sent Marianne an electronic link to that form. And that form, the reason that electronic, wait, sorry, you finish first.
No, I was just going to, reach out to, Sina Cutson and pump them for as much information, because I know when they originally got it, and certainly as part of the nomination to the National Register, I would assume that they've collected some information.
Yeah, we requested that.
Yeah, and you just paid them a bunch of money, and so they should give you as much information as they have.
The other thing is the State Historic Preservation Office may also have a bunch of stuff.
Bill Krattinger's content there for that, SKRATTINGER. So that electronic link to that doc, yes. There is a mapping portion that, and elements that fill in automatically if you work from the online version. So Marianne has that link, and
New
I.
York State History.
New York
I think
State.
we may have been copied on that.
Historic Preservation Office.
Well, I'm
Up
going
in
to
Albany.
answer like this current acre area.
So you do part one.
Part one, maybe.
Okay, so this is part one and part two here.
Yeah,
This is basic details, just want to make sure. If you have, some of this stuff.
So it's a series of binary questions that lead you through the document.
And some of this Beatty and Watson can do for you, because you've had them do some surveying.
And they're well acquainted with this.
So we could probably just tell them.
You have the name of the
They just did it recently for another applicant.
Wait, and what's the name of the person that you
Bill
mentioned?
Oh,
Krattinger.
Krattinger,
Yeah,
Krattinger.
of the New York State Historic Preservation Office.
Yeah, he's the National Register person who manages Hudson Valley stuff.
He's national, he's not, or he's New York
He's
State.
in New York State,
Okay.
but properties are listed on the state and national register.
They go through the
There
state first.
are
and then
things
to the national.
on the state register that are not on the national register. This is on both.
But
It
everything on
has
the
to be-
national register is on the state.
Right.
And then next time.
And there was a process that they used in nominating this. Usually there is some research that has to go on. I would say most of it was probably with the West Point Foundry, but there may be information on the Kenmores.
So we owe you, well, if Leading wants to take a look at this, we'll have Mike Carr take a look at the structural stuff that he suggested. Sounds like we need to do some research on historical, archaeological, et cetera. So what would you recommend is the next time that we should come in to speak with you guys?
Well, we're going to try to, expedite the process of getting a consultant on board. So what we're going to need from you on that is the EAF at a minimum, and then probably something as far as a conditions report. And then at least we can give that to the consultant and have them review it.
So it kind of depends on how quickly you turn that piece
Yeah,
around.
we can probably do that in a week, so Wednesday night. No, this will take 80 watts in a day.
Yeah,
That'll take.
Yeah,
We'll see about my,
structural
yeah,
assessment.
structure.
But that doesn't have to be submitted to us in a
May I see
meeting, I
this?
think that can be
That could
just
be
delivered.
Delivered to the village clerk.
Got it. And the next meeting dates are when?
That's an early time.
Our next
25th.
meeting is on, our next workshop meeting is on the 25th of October, and our next monthly
Actually,
meeting.
25th, we have a
Voting
voting
session.
because we're making that a public hearing also on that day.
No, that's a long meeting.
Oh, it's a long meeting, we have a
Okay.
big agenda.
But it can be a workshop.
It does have
A
a
portion of it.
pretty big agenda, and then our next monthly meeting would be on the 8th, November 8th.
And you have both voting and workshop as monthly meetings?
We do. Our November workshop meeting is TBA because of Thanksgiving, so I don't know exactly what day.
We
it's
talked
gonna
about
be.
moving it to the 29th, right?
We did talk about that, but it was not confirmed.
Realistically, there's nothing for us to vote on for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a bunch of reviews and, reviewing materials that you've generated. So, I think any of those meetings, if you guys have stuff that you want to review with us, get some feedback as we're going along so that, you don't go charging off into the sunset on something. We say, well, it's all nice and good, but we don't care.
Oh, the other thing is Putnam History Museum, if you go there for any information, the ladies who work in the research section are there on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays. And you have to email them.
Yeah. And they may wear very well have a file on this.
I
but we
wouldn't
don't
really
know.
chase that lead.
So just to,
Well, you never know.
the understanding, so I just didn't watch one of the applicants earlier, it sounds like almost all of the decisions were made in a workshop prior and then we came for approval for the, an additional meeting, so it sounds like we would work with you.
Yeah, that's what we
do
try, that's what we try to
workshops
do,
as
like
much
I
as
said, we
possible.
workshop it to death.
Yep.
Well, or
In the end, it saves
the
you time.
alternative is you can come to us and we go, oh my God, anybody approve this? No, and then, okay, go back and start again. This way.
Just keep emailing us.
In workshops, it allows us to exchange ideas and suggestions so that to improve your chances of getting an approval from us.
It seems like a lot where we're actually not wasting our time because otherwise you'd have to wait months to months to months.
Yeah.
So by doing all these workshops,
And only Andrea likes to come to meetings.
And then just in terms of the emailing, like for example, if there's like questions around the research or would this substantiate some of our
No, just
claims, like,
email
is that
us.
something that
Yeah.
we should do?
Just email the whole group
in order
and
to-
Wait a minute, the question is, hang on a second, would it
So-
substantiate?
So, for example, like, these are the types of arguments that, we found through our research as to why we should pick alternative one
We
versus
can't, we
two.
can't approve things by email. We have to be in a public session. You can submit things by email. And, if you have a question about a lead you're following, so we can't say,
Resources.
yes, this satisfies the
We
requirement.
would
That has to
say
happen in
this
public
is
session.
This is directionally the type of information we would need.
Or just so you guys can review, so we don't see your
Yeah.
meeting papers.
sorry if
Well,
I
of
misled
course.
you.
Of course
You
you
can
can.
ask us
Yeah.
questions, but we can't approve.
Yeah, but you could, so not even really directionally say like, this would be helpful as part
Well,
of the
we can tell you things, how we see it, but unless it's in the public session, we can't.
Okay, that's fair. I was just-
Nothing's
I think we're
official.
gonna use email more as a form for getting you guys information that you can review.
Mhm.
So when we sit down, we can go
Right.
through stuff without having to review it on the spot. Instead of,
Right.
for 3 hours.
Wonderful. So should we then just expect to get the engineering report, the first part of the EAF and the deed from them via email, and then we'll review that and we'll let you know whether any of you should be at the November monthly meeting. Does that sound good? Great. Thanks for taking the time.
And we can send you them in piecemeal, or would it be most helpful to send you?
You can just
email?
send them as, yeah, well, however you guys want, that's fine.
My request is that you send things via the village clerk, because then there's a clerk trail, and then he forwards them on to the board.
Okay,
Versus me directly. And the other thing, just for ease, it got very confusing. For a time, your mother-in-law and you were both emailing me and the clerk and giving different direction. I understand, but she was saying one thing and you were saying another, and that got hard. So I would say choose a point person who's going to be the one emailing back and forth. And so we're all clear on the direction we're moving.
Sure. Okay.
Great.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, Tom.
Hey, likewise.
Take care.